When you first load up Arkham Asylum, it's one of the most memorable experiences in gaming. This deep, dark, grimy music starts playing, a madhouse's orchestra. But as the theme keeps going, you hear flashes of heroism. On the title screen, you see Batman standing over Arkham. This may be a madhouse, but there's a hero. And just like that, you're fully immersed into Arkham Asylum. I played the shit out of this game growing up. I mean, how could you not play the shit out of this game growing up in the 2010s? It's fucking Batman. You beat people up, you sneak through vents, you are quite literally a Batman. But after replaying it in the modern day, I see it's so much more than that. This game does nearly everything perfectly for a Batman game. Atmosphere, soundtrack, gameplay, they are all molded into this perfect symphony that is Arkham Asylum. I would go as far to argue that Batman Arkham Asylum is the perfect way to start a Batman video game series. But why? Why am I gushing over it so much? Why am I giving it the biggest handjob of all time? How was it able to make me feel like a kid again, sitting at my Xbox beating up Joker's thugs? Well, that's what I want to explore in this video. The Arkham series is one of the best series you can play in gaming, and Arkham Asylum started that perfect symphony that would be the Arkham trilogy. If you watched my Dead Rising 2 video, you know I reviewed that game in a specific way, and that's probably what you're expecting. But I'm gonna do this one kind of differently. What I'm gonna do differently for this video is walk through Arkham's story and talk about features as they show up within the story. At the end of this video, I'll talk about all the categories and give them a rating out of 5. Those categories are story, gameplay, atmosphere, and just general bias if I enjoyed the game or not. And those will all be tallied up for an even score of 20 to give my final opinion on this game. With all that being said, let's dive into Arkham Asylum. I cannot gush enough about the atmosphere in this game. I mean, if you've been on the Arkham Reddit, you've seen the meme. But nonetheless, the developers set this up so amazingly, it's just ridiculous. After the appetizer that is the title screen, we're thrown right into Gotham. Rain's pouring on the street, and as we look up through the clouds, we see a bat signal illuminating the night. All of this while this eerie theme plays to really get those goosebumps going. We are then introduced to the Batmobile plowing through the streets of Gotham, with the Joker sitting in the back, rambling nonsense. We see the Batmobile enter Arkham and get this establishing shot of the entire facility, where our long night will take place. Batman and Joker enter the asylum, rain pouring in the background, the Bat standing heroic over what seems to be a defeated Joker. The reason I went into so much depth here is because I want people who have never played this game before to really take in the atmosphere that is established. Because to me, it's just absolute superbness. Everything you want to establish in a Batman story is not only established, but put in bold, italic text for you to be in awe of. The joke is it really makes you feel like Batman, but I mean, come on. It's true. As you are finally able to control Batman, you are fully immersed into this world. You start to walk into Arkham with the dark, grimy music playing in the background. As we walk into Arkham, we get one of the main pillars of why this trilogy is just so damn good. That being the Joker, and more specifically, Mark Hamill's Joker.
Always nice to return to my sweet little hacienda.
Here, he's probably captured the best way you can capture the Joker. He's just this absolute shitster, but also the pure face of evil, Batman's antithesis. And I mean, come on. There's no more iconic Batman-Joker duo than Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy. They managed to go even deeper in capturing him with just general expressions he makes while you're walking through Arkham. No cutscene, just plain gameplay. There's just so much detail here for a 2009 game, it's absolutely bonkers. But to summarize and speed things up, after Joker pulls some pranks, we meet Killer Croc, and a funny power outage happens. We get to where Batman isn't allowed to follow Joker anymore. And oh no, who would have thought Joker's able to get free? If only there was some way we could have prevented this. Dumb idiot. Now, Joker breaking free is like the catalyst of the plot, and I will admit, it's a little contrived. You're telling me Joker, a criminal mastermind, a psychotic killer, a super criminal, is taken into deeper Arkham with a guard and a doctor. I feel like he might need a little more security. I mean, come on. I mean, it's literally just two dudes in a dream hoping to stop Joker. But honestly, it really doesn't matter that much. I mean, it gets us where we need to be. So, Batman gets into the room where Joker escapes, and we're introduced to the first of 3 core mechanics that Batman Arkham provides. Combo combat. Now listen to me closely. I put this fucking mechanic through the ringer. I golded every single combat challenge, and that can nearly break a man. Do you understand me? I was gonna say I nearly turned into the Joker, but I thought that was stupid. And I gotta admit, the combat's a lot of fun. It gets really fun when you start to become a really baller at the game. Rocking a 40 free flow combo is pure dopamine injected into your veins. For those who don't know, Batman combat works like this. Batman is put in a situation with some goons and you basically just gotta punch them. You'll punch them, you'll counter when they punch you, and then you'll finish them off when you need to. While you are punching the goons, a combo meter will be growing to your left. And the way combos work is the higher the combo, the better the person. Simple as that. The combat starts off pretty simple, and while it does get more advanced with adding more goons, it does remain simple and never really overwhelms you. You get introduced to goons who can't be punched head on, so you gotta learn how to stun. You get introduced to goons with tasers, so you gotta jump over them and hit them from behind. There's stuff like that just to keep combat interesting. However, it's not just the goons who get stronger. Batman unlocks new combo abilities as the game goes on. Combo moves such as throw a man into a bottomless pit, break a man's leg so he never walks ever again, and of course, iconically, throw a batarang, jump on a man, then punch him in the dick. Typical Batman stuff. Usually in combat, you're just gonna punch, counter, break a man's leg, and ground pound. And as sexual as that sounds, it's really just jumping on a man and punching him in the dick. Okay, stop. But for combo challenges, that's where it gets fucking crazy. The game doesn't become about winning the fight. You can win the fight easily. It's about getting the biggest combo so you can get the biggest score and be the coolest kid on the block. You see this achievement I have on my Steam profile? Yeah, you get it, buddy. Let's see you try, wise guy. To get the biggest combo and the biggest score, you gotta go deep into your bat bag and do everything you have learned. You'll grapple, you'll stun, you'll grab, you'll punch, you'll counter, you'll ground pound, you'll fucking do a 360 flip and throw a man off a building. It's insane. It's a lot of fun, but my god, it separates the big bats from the little bats, so go in only if you dare. To wrap up talking about combat, there's also some bosses, like fighting Titans, Joker, Poison Ivy, but none of them are super memorable. They all usually boil down to you're just gonna do one thing, and there's no real diversity. I mean, Joker, you just pull him off a fucking building 3 times. That's the entire fight. This isn't to say that the bosses are bad, they're just not memorable, and I wouldn't necessarily say they're good either. They're right in the middle at a 5 out of 10. There are technically 2 bosses I didn't mention, but I did that on purpose because they deserve their own little section, and as we get through the story, I'll talk about them. Anywho, I fucking sucked at the first combat because not only am I just stupid, my brain had to readjust to the combat as a whole. Also, since I ain't no bitch, I put this game on hard mode, and I actually really recommend if you're gonna play this game, you do the same. It makes the game challenging, but not in a bullshit way. It actually just becomes more skill-based. You don't get counter warnings when someone's about to punch you, and enemies do a bit more damage, so while you're in combat, you really gotta be paying attention. But again, as a whole, I think those features make the game a lot more fun. After stumbling our way through combat, Joker just starts blabbing, and we're introduced to our second core aspect of gameplay: detective shit and Riddler challenges. As I say Riddler challenges, the 10% of people who have this Steam achievement probably just had a Vietnam flashback looking for these motherfuckers. Again, I put this mechanic through the ringer. I found every single Riddler trophy, I broke all the Joker teeth, and I found each Spirit of Arkham fucking slab or whatever, with only needing to look up 3 things. I didn't look up a guide to help me with this shit. One of the things I searched up was how to solve these dumbass question mark riddles, and in doing so, I actually found this amazing piece of artwork. I applaud the person who made this. Just like combo challenges, I had a lot of fun doing this, which might make me sound like an insane person, but hear me out. While the last couple Riddler trophies and definitely last couple Joker teeth almost drove me insane trying to find them just because of the backtracking and just having no idea where they are, the majority of the Riddler trophies and the Joker teeth are easy and honestly fun to find as you just explore Arkham, which I mean is already fun to do. However, the most amount of fun I had with this was solving the actual riddles. Throughout Arkham, you'll get a little message from the Riddler asking you his silly little riddles. So you go around the area the riddle is in and scan the answer. Most of these are related to Batman villains, and solving them will give you this neat little character bio that's actually drawn in a pretty cool way. You get iconic characters like Tweedledee, Tweedledum, the Calendar Man, and who can forget Prometheus? It's just spectacular. While I do joke about some of these more silly Batman characters, it is honestly really fun to learn more Batman lore as me personally a casual fan. The only disappointment when it comes to the Riddler is what you get as a prize. You get this achievement, which I mean sick, I'll take, but the only real prize you get for getting all the Riddler trophies is some dialogue about the Riddler being caught by the police. I would have liked a final confrontation. I mean, kind of want to beat his smug ass up, but you know, I also grouped detective work in here because it's similar to that kind of like exploration feel, but during a story sometimes you'll need to enter Batman's detective mode to find a little particle to trace. This particle is most likely related to finding a person, like an example is finding where Gordon is. And I mean, the mechanic is you just follow a particle through the air, so it's not the craziest thing, but you know, it adds to the atmosphere. Back to the story. After finding our first Riddler trophy and walking around for a bit, we're introduced to the last core gameplay mechanic, that being the stealth aspect of the game. Now, honestly, getting through the main story, I was pretty neutral towards stealth encounters. They were fun, don't get me wrong, but they never really stood out. Then I played the challenges and I saw just how fun these encounters are. As someone who's a DM and loves making encounters that can be solved in an infinite amount of ways, as playing through the challenges, I realized just how close the stealth encounters are to that feeling. It really just comes down to how you want to go about the encounter. During a story, I approached stealth encounters the most simple way I could. Get behind a guy, take him out. Nothing too crazy, right? However, I didn't realize how much you could just do with these encounters. Here's a good example. In challenge mode, one of the things you need to do to get a star is blow up 3 different guards behind 3 different walls at the same time. Now that sounds crazy, right? Like nearly impossible. However, once you start using your head, you start to realize how you can do this. Once you start analyzing the situation, you see the guards have specific patrol routes they'll take before Batman does anything. You notice one goon is standing right behind a wall and not moving at all. We want to keep it that way. Then you notice another goon walking back and forth under a roof. So we got 2, but there isn't a third. How are we going to get our third? Well, you got to find the perfect wall. And right as the patrol is just right, you got to throw a sonic batarang to lure a guard over, and then boom, 3 down at the same time. Crazy, right? That you can do that you can plan that much. Of course, that is the absolute extreme, and unless you're psychotic, you're probably not going to do that during main gameplay. However, it's just an amazing example of what's possible in these stealth encounters, and it all depends on your imagination. So when you add up these 3 main mechanics that Arkham Asylum provides, combo combat, detective exploration, and stealth encounters, you get the absolute core foundation of the game. Exploration as a whole either leads into combat or stealth encounters, which then lead back into exploration. And through exploration, you can choose if you want to do the Riddler stuff. Usually for me, gameplay kind of dies down after you've played a game for so much. It eventually gets boring, right? The story starts to become the main factor of why you want to finish the game. But somehow I just never got bored of Arkham's gameplay. It stayed fresh. It helps it's a shorter game, but nonetheless, all the gameplay features just work together in perfection. As I said, a grand symphony. And I never ever 100% a game. I've never 100%ed a game ever before, but Arkham Asylum made me want to 100% it. It was fun, but I more went through the challenges because I thought eventually the gameplay would get boring and I just want to stop. It just never happened, and I 100%ed the game. To me, it just very rarely got tedious, and in that way, it's just perfection. But I've been doing a lot of jumping around through the game to talk about gameplay. Let's focus back on the story. As we established earlier, the Joker has escaped, and he is wreaking havoc through Arkham. With the help of his goons and, Jesus Christ, Harley Quinn, I wonder how many clown fetishes this caused. But if you think Harley Quinn is bad, look at Poison Ivy, because, dear lord. Anyway. The story revolves around Batman needing to stop the Joker in Arkham. Joker is trying to make an army of Titans to invade Gotham or some shit. He is using the stuff that makes Bane so big and putting it just into random schmucks, which is also amazingly brutal, by the way, making their fucking spines pop out, and when Joker uses it, his entire ribcage is like outside of him. I don't know how they fix that. For the sake of time, I'm not going to walk us through every single story aspect because 1, this game doesn't need a story analysis in my opinion, and 2, I'm on a 2-week time limit, so we gotta speed this up. So I'm going to talk about some of the memorable bits in the story, and then we'll circle back to give a general overview of how I feel about the story itself. If you haven't played this game in a long time, multiple years, I'm sure at least one thing stuck with you, and that was the goddamn Scarecrow encounters. The Scarecrow encounters in this game are so good, just so absolutely amazing. This game legitimately turns to a horror game at times. It's brutal. The first Scarecrow encounter seemingly comes out of nowhere. You see him, then all of a sudden, shit is getting fucked up. This terrifying ass music starts playing in the background, your screen just starts fucking turning sideways, Batman's eyes are fucking glowing orange, and while Gordon's death is a tad bit silly.
Help me, Batman!
Walking into the morgue and hearing "leave this place" and seeing Batman's parents all fucking dead and rotten sticks with you. The encounters themselves are pretty fun and a good break from the norm, as they're basically just stealth encounters, but you gotta make it from point A to point B. Now, the most memorable Scarecrow encounter is the last one, because your screen just fucking glitches and breaks. And there is nothing, and I mean this, there is nothing more scary as a kid than your favorite game just not working, because then you gotta tell your parents, and then they might have to, they have to spend money on you again. It's just, you don't want that. Little Ashton shit his fucking pants when this happened. I'm gonna keep it straight with you. But if you just sit for a little bit, you realize the Jape, haha, funny Jape, funny. So funny, guys. Thanks for pulling that one on me. Joker out of nowhere is now driving the Batmobile, Batman's in the back, and you go through Arkham Asylum if all the fucking bad guys ran it, and then Joker just shoots you in the head. If only my Xbox controller had a middle stick. Damn. I'll get him next time, though. Just to, like, goon over Arkham again, just these encounters add to that amazing aesthetic that this game has. The atmosphere. Perfection. The other encounter that sticks with you is goddamn motherfucking Killer Croc. I had forgotten about the Killer Croc experience, and in the modern day, Big Ashton shit his fucking pants. There is nothing quite like just walking through a quiet fucking sewer and then seeing a giant crocodile man charge at you at full speed from seemingly nowhere. It was worse because I didn't know I could just throw a batarang at him, so I was just running for my life and hoping for the best that he would eventually stop. It's aspects like this that make the game just so incredibly good. So if those are two memorable aspects that stick out to me, what about the rest of the story? Well, in my opinion, the Arkham story itself is fine. To me, if I were to go to a random comic store and just pick up a random Batman story, this is probably the first thing I would think I was going to get into. And I'm gonna go on a limb and say that's probably what the devs wanted. A generic Batman story that can engross the player into the experience of being Batman in the atmosphere of Arkham, rather than the player latching on to the story itself. Now, some of you might be thinking this is criticism, but not really. This game has the story it needs to build an amazing environment around it. It doesn't need to have this absolute deep story that I can spend 40 minutes analyzing piece by piece. And while I would enjoy the game even more if it had that, at the end of the day, it doesn't need that to be a good Batman game. This is peak Batman fighting peak Joker. Simple as that. With that basic, simple foundation, they built an amazing game. Honestly, the most memorable parts of this game aren't at the end when you're fighting Joker in this big climactic battle. It's when you're just walking around Arkham, when you hear that and someone says something stupid over the intercom, or you have that back and forth between Joker and Batman. Honestly, besides Scarecrow, that's what I remember the most as a kid, and that's what I remember the most and enjoyed the most playing it in the modern day. So what does Arkham Asylum get on the classic ass scale? Well, starting with atmosphere, it's a pure 5 out of 5. Absolute perfection. You could not get better atmosphere in a Batman game at all. One of my absolute favorite gaming memories as a kid is just walking through intensive treatment. There are just such few games that can engross you wholly into the world like Arkham Asylum does. From silly little death screens
That is broken!
to just jumping off the clock and gliding through the air, it's gameplay I also just gotta give a pure 5 out of 5 too. As someone who 100%ed the game and waited for the gameplay to get boring, and then it just never happened, I have to give this a 5 out of 5. The stealth environments are so expansive and you can do so much within them. The combo combat manages to stay simple enough so it doesn't overwhelm you, but diverse and fast-paced enough that fighting 15 guys and taking them all down always stays fun. Story is the one place where I'm going to give a tad bit of a lower score, with a 4 out of 5. This isn't necessarily criticism on the story, but knowing the fact that it could be better. It's serviceable and gets us where we need to be, but superhero stories don't need to be confined to being mediocre. And I know Batman stories can be much more thought-provoking than just take down Joker. The reason this isn't a 3 out of 5 is because the tapes and the spirit of Arkham, while those aren't a part of the main story, it's a lot of fun to listen to the background. And I mean, you saw this coming, but for general bias, 5 out of 5. I had so much fun playing this game. It's probably the most amount of fun I've had playing a game in a long while, and that's kind of sad. The atmosphere just dragged me in and never let me go. Then it built upon this great game with amazing mechanics that just kept me going. I mean, I 100%ed the game, so like, something had to be good. So if we tally up the score, Batman Arkham Asylum gets a 19 out of 20, which, I mean, yeah, it's as close to as perfect as you can get. And if the story was a bit deeper and a bit more thought-provoking, for me, it would definitely be a 20 out of 20. As the title of this video states, it's just a symphony of perfection. I mean, hell, I even tried not to be biased with this game. I tried to do everything it offered, and even in that, I just got more engaged and liked it even more. If you haven't played this game, you're missing out on a classic, so go buy it right now on Steam and play it. Play it and enjoy it. Even if you're not a Batman fan, you'll enjoy it in some sense. Anyway, that does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you soon. See ya.
Subscribe to Classic Ash.
My grandfather said this mummy is worth millions.
I'm Warden Sharp. Fuck you.